gathered here in this beautiful space for a very special occasion to celebrate words, ideas, and the spirit behind them. But most of all, we are all here for one very simple. In this space-based world, it is often that we allow ourselves to pause, really, to step away from the rush and connect with what inspires us and lifts us higher. Well, tonight we have this opportunity to be present in the moment. So I'm going to ask you to try and let all of your words, just for a few hours, outside of this room. Our host, Niksa Dobre, is someone whose very name could be translated as a victory of kindness. What a blessing. For those who know him, this translation is definitely more than fitting. He's an athlete, a devoted father, a coach, a businessman, and a singer-songwriter. And above all, he is a man of integrity. Well, that spirit of kindness is at the heart of the book we celebrate this evening, Sophia's Bliss. You will find that Niksa gathers his reflection, imagination, his experience, and above all, his humanity. The book speaks to anyone who seeks encouragement, depth, and light in uncertain times. Those who have already read Sophia's Bliss know how strongly it resonates. And for those who are discovering it tonight, you will find a story that weaves together reality and imagination, past and future, fear and hope. It is a reminder that honesty, love, and courage is what free us and brings us closer to who we are meant to be. Niksa is also the author of 4 professional books on soccer: Football Through Ethics and Profession, Basic Soccer, Modern Football, and Tactics in Modern Football, as well as other novels and poetry, including A Crack Between Two Worlds, Purification, and a collection From Love to Despair. His work has been recognized both for its vision and its humanity. I'm very happy to have an opportunity to say that just 2 months ago, Sophia's Bliss received a very special award, literally book award theater for exceptional storytelling and creativity. So, it is with my great pleasure and honor to welcome the author, Niksa Dobre.
So, I think that this is a great opportunity for all of us. We live, I see so many beautiful, familiar places. Some of you guys become a family through the last 25 years. Since I came in this beautiful country, and we live next to each other, and we live and share memories and everything, and still I feel that we don't know each other. So I think this is one of the opportunities that you know me on the way that tomorrow you're going to give me a chance that I recognized, actually I did already recognize that in you, otherwise we would not be here. And when somebody asked me, what do you think, how many people will come? I said, you will come to those that they need to be here. So thank you one more time, and we will try to lead you through why these books came up and why this Sophia's Bliss is very special to me. And I hope that you're gonna enjoy this interesting and short journey of a couple hours. What is compared to the life.
Thank you for your remarks. I'm very honored to welcome 2 distinguished guests tonight who will join us in this evening. Ms. Suzana Sjanicic, licensed mental health counselor, psychotherapist, and author of Anxiety Free, as well as Dr. Professor Dusan Ilic, associate professor of biomechanics, motor control, and learning at the University of Belgrade, and coach to athletes who have won 35 gold medals, including 4 Olympic golds. So tonight we will explore not only Niksa's literary journey, but the world of sports, philosophy, and the human spirit. So it was very easy to realize how should I start this, and of course it's going to be soccer. So you have published the 4 books on the subject, 2 of them Football Through Ethics and Profession and Basic Soccer. They came out 10 and 8 years ago. Right. Can you tell me a little bit about what inspired you to start this. How did you get to this? Oh, I really need to write this down.
See, when you come in a certain age as a kid, and I believe as much you're getting older, that kid never get out from you. So we're still playing over 50, and we think that we are kids still on the field. But honestly, I had a dream, like the most of the children and the kids that they playing and they're involved in the soccer to one day become a big professional soccer player. And then you mature, then you think one day you're going to be a huge soccer coach because you believe that there is some differences between you in your perception of the others and your ability, and you educate yourself. You don't spend just a part of your life in the soccer, just playing soccer, but also you're looking at soccer in a totally different way, actually. And so then I realized that in the soccer literary industry, there's not a big number of the books that will explain to the children. And it's interesting, whoever take the book, they will say like, oh, you know what, I know that. But there's no explanation. They mostly are books about, for example, the superstars that they finish their own careers, or somebody who were involved in coaching for so many years. Or there is a books that they will explain about supinations or extensions in the elbows or in the knees, or that kids that they 8, 10 or 9 years old, they don't understand at all. So through the technology, we were able to put on the pictures the models that if you go through the books, especially the mother soccer, and after that tactics in mother soccer, there's so many models that it actually exactly shows you the percentage and the level of leg that needs to be extended, or even from the just simply running or simply shooting the ball with the head. So I know that most of you that you're not involved in the soccer, this could be a little bit boring, but it's very important because I am a big fan, and I believe, and I'm sure that Professor Dr. Ilic can say something a little bit about it, that the differences between highly level of professional athletes, it's actually in their ability to have a knowledge in the sense of methodology, or actually of the picture that you represent them. Meaning that we are luck, it's like a school. If you're showing someone to write a certain way, he will still write the essay, but that essay will be a little bit out of the alignment on the perfectly written technically, right? So when you shoot the ball technically, there is technically methodology that you have to show them. So most of the coaches, make story short, they will show the kids and they will do hitting on the balls or they will, but still there is not capacity for them to grow more or to be accurate in that certain way. And there's many other things in multitudes of your ligaments, or even our bodies works on special way that we don't even recognize now. The science get more and more, and they give us many ways that we still learning about our bodies. But capacity actually is on the coaches, that they will recognize right methodology to show to the kids. Because if we are lucky with that, then the level of their growth will be in somewhere that we don't want to be, and then we have excuses that that player is limited. It's not limited because he doesn't have the talent, because you already choose him, you're already working with him, you already select that kid. But in some way of developing and searching for that talent to explore, we make as a coaches either mistake or we didn't work enough with those players. So if you want to add anything on it, that would be great. But basically, so books came up in the desire, not only from the perspective of ego, that look at me, I wrote the books about soccer, I know more than you do. I never said that, I don't think that I will ever even say that, because that's the biggest trick in the soccer or any sport industry when ego starts working. Because when you come into the locker room as a highly professional, you have to understand that there is in front of you 25, 4 or 50 people that you work with. And if the only element and only tool to work with them is your ego saying, like, when I used to play, going through experience, or when I did this, when I that, it's going to be like that, because ego on ego doesn't hear you. So expertise is and knowledge is one and only thing that can lead you to the success. So another book, The Tactics in Modern Soccer, we all know soccer, we all see, we all recognize, we all have, and we can all put the dots and the system in the playing. But what is actually differences between the really highly professional soccer coach, the one who really see and have that deepness, and the one who is still there but not recognized? It's in something else that probably we can talk later about it and mention, that I don't expose everything right now. But definitely both of them, you can imagine, it's been already more than 12 years ago or 10 years ago. And now I always say that I'm very proud of that, because even to write a book, you really need to have a density to stay behind those words and cover those words with knowledge. So my life bring me in a totally different road than just the soccer world, because of just simply surviving and living in this beautiful country and making a home for me and my family. But that doesn't mean that, and I always say nobody can steal your knowledge, and if nothing else, knowing who you are and having that ability to help others, at least the young kids. And I'm sure that everybody can recognize themselves if they truly see and look through the book, knowing that they know about soccer, but as a reminder, it's good to have it. If nothing else, it's just go through it and say to yourself, oh, look, I forgot about this, but it's interesting to say or to see it. So
I must say, like, it feels like this actually started from your self-awareness and, being brave enough to say, we are the ones that make mistakes, take the responsibility.
No, definitely, yeah.
So in that way, overlaps with your books and inner, guidance and inner retrospective. So it makes perfect sense that all the books are aligned here. But in the world, in the world of coaching, we often say and hear that experience is what matters the most when we're talking about the highest level, right? Do you think, what's your opinion?
Well, that's a very tricky question, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't think that in professional soccer, I have my friends here that they are very well involved in soccer, that experience everything, and I have on my left side the guy that we always try to see where is and how can we make better our thoughts about everything, and especially experience. So why I'm saying that experience, there's several elements in the soccer coaching industry, and one of them is ethics. Second one is a profession. Third one is the talent, hard work, and the fifth is the experience. Why? Because if you count on the ethic can work and can survive without profession, but profession without ethic can't. And you can see what's happening and how soccer industry is put out there, and that's the rigid energy that goes way beyond that. Also, I don't even go in that rabbit hole, but then you have the talent. Then you have doesn't matter if you work with the highly professional soccer players or the kids. Your knowledge will expose you. Your coaching points will expose you, not your knowledge. So talent is very important. When I say talent, meaning to recognize, to have a deepness and to have highly sensitivity to work with those players. So when you have highly sensitivity, and today in the modern world, when you have high corporations, they are looking for the CEOs, and they're looking for the leaders. One and only things for us now, before was totally, it's who knows it, who knows you. It's our hypersensitivity in the people, meaning that they're able to recognize it and see it in others, that others they can't see in them. And then you have experience. If experience is on the first place, that means that we will always learn from others. I play soccer when I'm 16, 17, 30 years old, 40 years old. I learn from my coaches. So they're already old. They're already somewhere that soccer needs and should change, because the technology changed, the physical preparation changed. So what they learned in that time, it's totally different than we see right now, because those children that we have, they're carrying totally different energy. They are full of informations that they're already out there on the social media, or they're out there on any other platform. So that half job is already easy and done for the soccer coach who has that sensitivity and able that he can change and adjust and make another superstar.
I do want to ask for your remarks, Mr. Peric, given your amazing experience and achievements, if you have a take on this as well.
For my point, hello to everybody. I'm really honored and my pleasure to see you here and to be with you. And sorry, bring your microphone up a little bit. Right before I start to answer, when I say Niksa Dobre, it's a first momentum when I close the eyes. It's so many games played after 2 a.m. early in the morning, just because we couldn't arrange any other time to play all together. He was a student of mine, first generation, and it's a big pleasure to see he's trying and keep on trying to be in the soccer and to write down the books he did. And for me, very important thing is right after everything you said, it's a couple of comments coming from the side that you can see right after diagnostic Thierry Henry after the 11 years age. He's gonna be one of the fastest player ever in the world. You can, especially on the long distances. And on the other side, the Messi, everything was perfectly done in terms of the speed on a 10 meters. But the point is a perfect diagnostic. Can you imagine today the kids from the, let's say, 3 to 4 years to the 7, being quite quite aware in a way to understand the control of the speed, just from the one position to the other in a very exact velocity, control of the time of the movement, and control of the position of the starting and the position of the finishing. If somebody is quite aware to understand it perfectly, it's the very beginning of his longevity in a sport. Because if we are able to raise the kids in terms of the so many techniques, very specialized, but being in a chance to correct each one momentum, but keeping the technique exactly almost the same, never be out of efficiency, ever be efficient. It's very important because the big difference between the average level of the players and the top level today, no matter we are speaking about the kids of the 15 and 16 and the adults, is not mostly the strength and the speed. It's just the motor efficiency. And being able to create the program for good visualization, for the good understanding of any one of the motor technique, it's perfect. Today, I was very experienced with the guys, especially in the soccer, because I was coaching Matic from Manchester United, Luka Milivojevic from. He was the captain of the Crystal Palace. Kolarov, he was playing in Manchester City. There were the guys at the, let's say, at the middle of their career, who never be excellent in a moving, but what kind of movement? Starting the move. Just because they simply forget on their trunk. And orientation of the trunk has to be the first one position, and then after the legs is going to be starting to be very light for the other part of the moving. And being in a good way to understand, just to changing direction, again is the first one is a trunk to be moved, and then the other part of the body. Why did I say like this? If you create this momentum for the kids, it's never be forgotten, and it's never be forgotten. And that's why I can say the raising the kids in a proper way is gonna be the way of not be in any difficulties in a period of time right after 20th. To be in a way to feel yourself, no matter of the trainers, no matter of any other surroundings, especially the guys who keep on trying to be with them, but they are gonna create themselves absolutely, which is very important to be as the cats any moment. For me, very important thing is just the one for the parents. If you just understand that have a kid very predisposed to play, for instance, soccer. Being able to understand that body plays firstly, and then creation of our coordination, which is going to be treated gradually in the years. A very important thing is take your kids in any diagnostic center to have a look the length of the calcaneus this one part of our foot, which is very important. And on the other way, try to take your kids to have a look how big is patella, which is very important. Take a look what about any extension about any part of the joints, which is very important if we want to just to take into consideration what about the animals who are very fast. You shouldn't go on any other except the horses. They are twice, triple bigger speed than we are. Today, the best player in the world in soccer are the player who has an extension on the parts which are in the joints. And why? Because Archimedes said long time ago, I'm gonna put up the earth globe upward. If I have a lever, big one, patella is a big lever if you have a big patella. If you have a small one, don't take the kids on soccer, which is very important. It's please believe me. And that's very important because the mechanics simply speaks so many languages in a way to say which is correct, which is not.
If you allow me, I understand it's all technical, but I think that we need to address that, and through the research, Australian research last year was the 65%, and I agree with you said, and I know we can go back and forth like 2 days like this, but some people go maybe not ready, they're waiting for other things. But what I want to say, 65% of the kids quit soccer by the age of 16, and that's crazy. Why? Because the most of the coaches, they don't give them or they don't work with them. Why they don't work with them, and that's the biggest problem here in the United States also. I'm not just pointing in academies, and we're talking about academies, they have such a huge pressure from the owners, they have such a huge pressure to make a franchise and to win. And in that pressure, they're making physical selection. And they forget that they recognize those that they hire. They forget that the people or the children that they born in January, instead in the October or December, need a huge part that they grow 4 or 6 inches during the year. And of course but that doesn't mean that those 65%, and in that 65% you have children that they now, because our body is physically developed, that we can do more than chemistry give us. What is to develop is the mind. So there is a children right now already, that's what I'm saying, when they work with them, that they are capable. And there's also, we talked before that, maybe we can even skip talking about that, I'm not getting in the expertise of Coach Wagner, who was a great coach for so many decades, but we had a misunderstanding that technique, physical condition, and then tactical for the children is the major things after age of 17 and 18, and that's late. It simply is late because those kids are so totally different energy, they're so smart that they should work tactics, and they do and work on it already when they 10, 11 or 12 years old. So
I sure know that you have responded well in your podcast that raised the
yeah, but we get a little bit in it's not argument, but I believe, with all my respect, whoever works, wherever they work, again, it's not from the perspective of ego, that we have to and should address on that all thinking, no matter what and how much they prove themselves. I mean, I didn't do anything, but still, if somebody wants to hear it, I believe that there's more that we can do for those children, and that we can't wait for 17 years old for somebody to tactically. So for example, you have and you saw that many times, that we have pro soccer players that come in the Premier League, they can't, or they have technique of the jumping or starting, and they jump starting on the one leg and doing the skip and getting the running. They simply didn't do that. So me as a professional coach, or anybody who works with them, to have such a players that they sign a contract for $15 or $20 million and spend my time just to teach him that, it's just wasting time.
If I may say, like, nowadays they're going to have a different head start based on what you just said. So it's going to have to move along anyway. If somebody who's working with them is going to have this awareness and sort of comprehend this differently.
Well, the soccer industry is very interesting, and the way I still believe that we don't have the elements that truly will choose the professionals through their not only a character but performances that adjust. For example, if in my company I'm looking exactly what I need from person to be qualified for, and the most of them, they're not qualified for what they're doing, but there is a beautiful and great soccer coaches you can till now that they see that capable. Problem, there's many problems.
We're gonna solve you, I hope, tonight.
Yes.
I just wanted to say it that way. One important thing: soccer is a soccer, but for me, soccer helps to the other sports a lot. And why not to start with soccer? Because if we can hear any 3 days that there is a guy who plays basketball perfectly, but he played at least 5 to 10 years soccer perfectly. Why? Because soccer gives a lot in terms of the movement, but a lot in terms of the thinking. The same story is about tennis. I've been experienced with so many of them. Rafa Nadal started in soccer, not to mention the others, a lot of them. And that's why, for me, it's a very important thing is to put the kids in soccer, and especially the men, but for the women, also to put them, if they want, in a soccer, but
Certainly
to,
become very, very present.
but to do a lot of corrective activities right after the soccer trainings, just because of geometries of the women. It's going to be start as the geometries of the men, and that's why they have to be protected that way.
Makes sense. Thank you so much for your answer as well. So now we started talking about thinking and then critical thinking and creativity and everything that fostered so far. So I want to look you, Ms. Staničić, on this one. I want to ask you from a psychotherapy perspective. What do you think that can be done to raise awareness in the sports world, especially in soccer, about issues like anxiety and trauma? Because players face that, based on history now that you said, and even more throughout their careers quite often.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to be here tonight. Thank you, Niksa, for inviting me. It's a pleasure. I think, again, speaking of age, right, it's very important to start early, to start working on their mental strength, to recognize their strengths and weaknesses. Even for the coaches, we talked about experience and what's important. That is a big part of it. Gentlemen would agree with me. To really understand the player holistically, to really see where they're going, right, aside from their talent, to understand what and how that player will thrive in. In terms of anxiety, I think starting psychotherapy really not to promote it, right? But really to understand, again, strengths and weaknesses, and to understand how to cope with loss, how to cope with rejection, how to even cope with success. Many people have the issue of becoming famous very early on, very young, not knowing how to deal with fame, a lot of pressure, traveling, being away from families, learning how to deal with all of that. Even later in life, dealing with retirement. If you've been in the field for so long, you've been a part of this sport for pretty much your entire life, it's important to learn how to deal with that, because it is a loss. And believe it or not, retirement for many is also causing grief, as it would lose somebody to death, to divorce, anything like that, right? It's as powerful. It can really leave a sense of emptiness.
Thank you. But I do want to ask another perspective. Niksa, for the same question, but also to what extent has this been a part of, coaches' responsibility so far, and, how it moved away from throughout the years, and what can you sort of add to it to further develop that?
Well, it's not the coach responsibility that much as much the player's responsibility, because we have 45% of the soccer players struggling with depression, anxiety after they stop playing soccer, and that's a huge number. And there's 58% use some addictions as alcohol, as just to run away from their own ego problems, right? And so education and awareness, you just mentioned, simply the raising that consciousness among the players that they understand what's waiting for them, planning their future, right? And then the problems is, I remember when I had, for my A license, we went in the Kokovic, and that was 24 players that they just finished their career, among them, some of them that they play in Barcelona, and after that become, I'm not going to say the names, but they were, he was the coach of the national team there. And we were ordering the food, talking, he was all over the place. So I said, what's going on? Like, we were nervous. So he couldn't calm down till somebody recognized him. We get into that point that I went to the waitresses and said, please just go over there by that man and tell him, like, oh my God, are you the guy that played soccer so many years? Didn't do it? So I swear to God, and then on the end, he was a totally different person. His eyes light up. He stand full back, oh my God. Like, so what are we eating? He was after full 35 minutes. So that's then the action of those players that but there is a players that they experience a little bit the high level of professionalism. They get hurt, or they were not able to move forward, and all of a sudden they done. There's some players that they give everything they could to the age of 21, not even finish the college or anything. That's the young players. I always say it doesn't matter whatever you do, but prepare your future, that you finish the college, you've educated yourself, so if you don't success in that soccer plan or idea that one day you can live from that, you don't have to be a superstar. You're not all Messi. We're not talking about that talent and natural ability that God gives you to be there, have there, enjoy and make money. And even then when you are, there's no full responsibility to be a model to those guys. We know many samples from McDonald's and others and doing the drugs and this and that. And they ending in that hell that they can't get out from it.
Thank you. Well, given that we're now in the U.S., why do you think that U.S. soccer still struggles on the international stage? Given after 30 years, would we go towards academics and for the national level and whole, the lack of quality?
We should ask. Definitely, I don't work in the national team. That's one thing. For me, to gossiping around, not being successful after 30 years, but from my professional side and the view, like I said, if you work and you have, we can't hiding ourselves that in this country, soccer just started 30 years ago. That's not true. We can hide ourselves that we don't have enough, that our program is not enough. It's not true. That we don't have facilities is not true. This is the richest country that you have in the world, that they have everything and anything that they want. You just go in Ballettery Academy right now in MGM, I think in Florida, that it's, you don't, 24/7 national teams, if they those kids for 16 or 12 or 13, 14 years old, they're for 6 months together. So make story short, what I see, it's the lack of methodological work with the players from their early age. And then, like I said, what's happening with the academy is they neglecting the players that they should really invest in, because they don't develop for example, you have the artistic player, let's say that way, technically great. In most academy, they will let him to do whatever he wants because he scored the goals. And then even there's coaching points that they recognize that he shouldn't do that. They let him do, not saying anything. So it's like little by little, like in a relationship between two people, when you have abuser, right? You're letting that guy and that kid become narcissistic, egoistic person, that he will not success, not only because he was not able technically to success and be better than others, because simply when he's 18 years old, smashed with the physical stronger players, he loses his ability and security to play further. He can't compete anymore. But there's other players that they're less technically, but they were neglected, but they played 1 or 2 touches, and their intellectual ability to see is highly above everybody else. But they can't success because they didn't pass. We were not enough, I would say, we didn't protect them enough, or we were not patient enough with them.
From that being said, you often kind of intertwine soccer with the way of thoughts and soccer with spirituality. And you know, you must admit that when you say soccer and spirituality to most of the people, they just can't seem to find this connection. So I want to ask you, and also you, Susan, if you could join this as well. How do you see this connection? How do you start?
George Orwell says a long time ago, give them beers and the soccer and you're going to control them. Right? Remember that. So it's the same with any other sports. It's destruction for the life that you want to live. But can you imagine that besides that you have somebody who's talented, artistic, and you make him to be a warrior, and on the end you make him a champion. To do that, you need to make him to be aware of himself. See, like right now in individual sports like the tennis, everybody's talking now about mindfulness. Everybody's talking about meditation. Everybody's talking about... So, also the problem with those highly ranked soccer players that they're 30 or 50 or 100 or 200 million dollars worth, that they're coming from a different environment, different culture, different program, and it's very hard to adjust them. But they adjust to the money, but still are able to raise that consciousness and recognize what is really good and bad. Now we're getting in that success. Most of them think that success is how much money you have, and it's all about ego, me, right? And then instead, there's nothing wrong about money. Now we're talking about success, but if you become a slave of that money, you're becoming a slave a prisoner of your own being. But if you do something with that, and you are a model for others, and you're helping community to grow, then not only your success becomes the success of everybody else. And if you want to, of course.
Sure. Yeah, to add that, you mentioned tennis, right? Djokovic always talks about visualization, right? And just planning and imagining his next steps. Mindfulness, like you said, is a big thing. And I think also a sense of community in a way. If all players were self-aware and mindful, they would have increased awareness of one another. They would be able to feel more connected, therefore to achieve better results, to understand what the next step will be.
Like you just mentioned, nobody's saying that on the soccer field or any sports field that you have to meditate and be a guru right there. No, we're not saying that. You don't be a yogi over there. You go over there, you kick someone's ass because you have to do it because that's the competition. We were designed that way. You're already designed and programmed to compete with each others. But living in the truth and playing in the truth, it's something else. It's like a Spartans a long time ago saying, right? Like a samurai is a long time ago saying. So being your own samurai and recognize, so when you hit somebody, and you consciously hit that one, and you know that's wrong, right? Or you doing that because you had to do it, but you still are able to forgive yourself for something, but then you say, listen, let me just give you a hug, man, because it shouldn't be that way, right? And you see, I can never forget the scenes when we all, and I'm sure that you guys remember, there's some of the guys wants to come and fight with him, and others coming and jumping, right? So instead, he jumped to it. He's saving the guy from others and give him a hug and just, walk him out with a red card on it. So finding that strength in you and knowing exactly that whoever put you down through when we're talking about the sports, it's the same in the life, you still need to be balanced. You still need to find that strength in you and be able to move forward. Now when you mentioned the tennis, look just recently in US Open, the way when the guys are losing the game, you still recognize that ego, but you recognize that sadness, but also you still recognize, admire for other guy who achieved to be better, and learning from that, right? Instead, if we get now into the fence and what's happening around in that, we're just going in totally different dimension.
Health support.
Yeah,
Growth.
absolutely.
Please.
Say it that way. In the US is, for my point of view, the best science about human movements. It's the biggest one comparing to the others. It's really pity that the guys who are dealing with the practice in the soccer, not to mention in the other sports, don't follow that science. You can't imagine how many labs are just about the perception of good assessing of the perception in the soccer in the US. Not to mention the other labs who are dealing with motor shim activities. What does mean that exactly? They are dealing with any kinematic of any movement very precisely, and that's why you have to initiate the society of the trainers that way, who is going to be able to much tighter follow the science and scientific guys all around the US, because there is another one very important thing just for the audience to know. There is, for my point of view, the biggest piece between the Russia and US, and it's on a platform of the motor control and learning of the humans. Can you believe it? Because in the US at least works 2,000 very, very perfect one, highest level of the Russian one, scientists. Not to mention a lot of US people are that way. Why did they say like this? Because it's very important in future to connect the soccer trainers with that labs. It's going to be helped a lot.
And when you mentioned, if I can just add, you mentioned perspective, right? I would add perception too, so that people understand. By the way, we're going live in Facebook, and I will just use this opportunity and Instagram to say hi to all our friends that they're watching us, and I'm sure that I see that there's many of them back home also. When I said back home, my home also is here, but also in Serbia and Croatia, and we are glad to have them here with us. So the perception is our ability as humans, right, to see the world around us, and we receive so many signals, and the way how my brain works is different than your brain or her brain or our brain works. So our life is our perception of that. So it's the same in the soccer. That's the difference between the good soccer coach and the great soccer coach, because his perceptions are giving him ability to recognize mistakes that it's going to happen before that they actually happens. So that deepness, and then his perception gives him ability to have perspective about others' perception. So the way how somebody else is watching. So if I have a player or I have a coworker or somebody who's assisting me and working with me, so if I have ability to see his point of view, then it's just that's the great teamwork. If I see mine only, right, and he's neglecting his, then we're not going nowhere. It's become only one side way of love is always two-sided way. Right?
Well, that is definitely pushing the boundaries out of soccer as well. It's something that we can use more in our life.
Sure.
I'm going to use this opportunity to leave the soccer a little bit behind and transition into this lovely book, Sophia's Bliss. It has been recently translated to English. Was
Yes.
that a tough process or was it easy?
Well, when my first language is Serbian, I just almost said English, Serbian. So I first wrote on Serbian, we translated it in Serbia. It's published 2021. It was such a great moment there, and I spoke to the people and introduced, and it's interesting how mind and consciousness change in only 2 years. So it was, on your question, it was hard to translate it on English because Serbian language is very deep and with and sensitive and has different meanings to express yourself poetically, like in Shakespeare way, for example. So, and when we did translate it, I wanted to translate it word by word, but when I gave to the editor, they were just like, oh my God, we can't do this because the people just will fall asleep after, 6 pages or 10 pages because it was heavy a little bit, and so we have to simplify it a little bit. That was my biggest fear, not actually receive information on the deepness that you want to put out there for the readers.
Perhaps the simple way is sometimes very good, we just don't like to see that sometimes. But question of the night, who exactly is Sophia?
Well, Sophia is in, wow, we have to go really far away a little bit but simply Sophia in Western here spiritual environment, it calls like a life source. In India, you would call prana, or in China, chi, or so. Jesus Christ says, when I and Sophia are one, I'm one with the God. I would say that Sophia is also in India, they call Kundalini, or your soul simply. That's how I see, and I'm going to explain why. Because seeing the time of the Alexandria, the Greeks and intellectual society in the Greek, and together with the Judaism, they were called as a wisdom, and keep us in that level of the wisdom. But I would like to raise a little bit further than that and higher than that, because Sophia is also in Bible. Jesus Christ, when he showed up to the Maria Magdalena, Maria of Magdalene, the first, right, the woman, that in Scripture of Thomas says that he loved more than others students. But leaving that on the side, he said, don't be afraid, because now when I'm one with the Sophia, I'm one with the Father and the Mother on the heaven. So, and then that, when we talk about Sophia, is the process of discovery and the who really we are. And that Sophia sits in you, it sits in me, in everybody, in each one of you. And when you get in that bliss, then you realize the truth about you, you realize the truth about the world around you, and you realize really the truth about the God in you.
It is an honor to share and carry this name, I must say, after your speech. Thank you, Mother and Father. I appreciate it. You did quote Nikola Tesla in your book. We love him, of course, the Serbian. And this sentence, we hear it a lot of times. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. What did you mean when you spoke about a universal path for all of us?
Well, it's a again, look, the best of all of us, the one who loved everyone, the one who gave such a knowledge that we all still live in it and we're still talking about it, the one who was betrayed, from his own people who were under the tyranny, and the one who also, he was by himself under tyranny, was crucified on his own path, showing us that we will, in our life, all be betrayed, that we all go through the struggles, that we all be without money, that we all be sick, if not us, some of our friends or our family. So that is a universal path of all of us. Pick up your cross and follow me, meaning leave all your pain, leave all your doubt, leave all your doubt for physicality that you carry with yourself and the fears, and follow me. Not just to follow me, but I'm showing you the way, because in that way it's not any other way, just the way, but that's the way inwards. Inwards in your heart, in your Christ consciousness that opens you up. And now when we go back all the way to the principles, and that's what Nikola Tesla meaning, hermetical principles that came from the Egypt, and Greek calls the god Hermes, who wrote those principles of the Hermetic principles, and those are principles of one of them. And first one is mentalism. There's a polarity. There's everything. There's moving. Everything has balance, and in everything there is the feminine and masculine energy. So Nikola Tesla says if you want to find the universe, the secrets of the universe, you have to think about the term of the frequency energy and vibration. So now, after 150 years ago, quantum science figured out the same. So what that tells us is that we lived in the darkness for all these years, actually all these centuries. And now I just heard so recently that they finally figured that they have 2 photons bringing in 1, and that 2 photons making the sign as a yin and yang sign, like China did 5,000 years ago. So from where the heck those people knew about that sign 5,000 years ago, and we just discovering something that was exist already, right? So there's so much questions there, and there's so much things, and that's exactly what it was mentioned, that we exist, and our existence is really, it's not before the Egypt or before the Judaism or Christianity or anything, but we were always here and there, as above so below, and we will always be. So now who we are and what we are is another question that we can go through.
I feel like you can stay here after this. You're gonna go home to sleep, don't worry. I want to stay on this level, but tackle into something that you always go through, and these are these perspectives, changing the roles, experiencing everything from different sides. And so your main character, Anthony, he has out-of-body experiences after traumatic events, especially like war. And I have a little bit of details. In one vision, he is a monk protecting sacred books. In another, he sees himself as an abuser. I want you to tell me a little bit more about this parallel, the idea of savior and destroyer, and what inspired you to explore it.
Well, I think that Susanna can bring us more interesting, a deeper perspective, what really that means. But the book is set up. See, even when I was mentioning the Hermetic principles, I just want to put them out there, not writing them as everybody did a million times, because people are lazy, and when you mention something, they don't want to even search what that really means. But when we talk about, and then I wanted to show that universal path of all of us through the book with the major actor Anthony, and his ability that we all have in us. Living this life, we also are able to touch other realms and from other realm that we're not even conscious that we can. So one of the segments, Anthony, his soul comes out of the body, and he see himself as a psychopath and the victim. And my goals was to show the people that there is a way when you're involved in a relationship with a psychopath that you can get away from that. And my desire was to show why a psychopath becomes a psychopath, why victims actually become a victim, why human interactions and relationship is very interesting in many ways, and mostly unconsciously, because we were led through not the freedom to love, but through attachment to somebody or something that we can gain from it. So love becomes options, instead becomes the basic needs, or not even needs, that's come from the ego, but the tool to express yourself as an eternal being that is all love. There's nothing else. We become something else.
Would you like to contribute? Because I have a write one after this, so.
Psychopath and
Yes, so, well, it's interesting, as I was reading your book, actually, I realized something that I haven't thought about, even as a therapist. So thank you for that. I think that victims and abusers do have something in common, and that's lack of self-worth and very deeply rooted insecurity. And that is something that continues to connect them, to keep them in the loop, to keep them in the cycle. They're both looking to gain something, which does come from ego, as you said. And there is that issue of attachment. They do go through that very, very borderline cycle of love and hate. And they continue to forgive one another. And they continue this cycle.
But because of need.
Because of the need, because they're getting something from one another. There is a beautiful point in the book where, what was the name? I forget. I'm sorry, I'm awful with names. And no, it was what was the name of the wife, the victim? Richard and yes, I forget. It doesn't matter. But basically, the wife was the victim, where she holds him and feels almost responsible for how he is feeling. So she finds a sense of own worth in herself to heal him, to try to help him get out of that. Meanwhile, he finds strength and confidence in gaining control over her. And that is the cycle.
I want to say that this is, as per my opinion, sort of viewed in a woman and man relationship nowadays, and it feels like it's always an answer. At the first point, it's always an answer to some trauma that they learned, some patterns from their parents or whatever, that they're not conscious about. So it's very easy to trigger that in the beginning. So what is, first of all, this is a great opportunity. I think that you can grow if you're conscious enough to use that as a leverage. But how would you transcend this into this relationship nowadays, men and women?
So, number one, we all learn, you touched upon something that I wanted to say earlier as well. There is nature versus nurture. We have that debate for hundreds of years in the field of psychology. So it is learning through modeling, learning through important figures in our lives, first being parents or guardians, learning from their behaviors, but also what comes from us, what comes from our temperament, as we would say, right? So what is something that is deeply rooted in our inclinations, our instincts? And then when those two blend together, we might have a predisposition biologically, but if we didn't witness that, we might not live it and execute it, right? But if those two unfortunately sometimes come together, if let's say a child who does have a predisposition for aggression grows up in an aggressive household, he might unfortunately become the abuser. Now, when it comes to the male and female relationships today, that's something that I could talk about for days, but we're not going to do it. I think that the roles have changed significantly. And I think that, I got a lot of backlash actually. I was recently talking about, the same topic, and I said, we don't need men, but we might want them in our lives, right? And I thought that was a compliment to men, but no, apparently it wasn't. My thought behind that was that, we want to be with someone because, like Niksa said earlier, not out of the need, not out of, a desire, but out of that pure love and the connection that you feel with another person. Unfortunately, what's happening today, and I'll get just a little bit into the past with feminism, I think that's where the entire problem came from, not from the original feminism, because I think that's great, but it was very simple. It was women's desire to have equal rights when it comes to work, education, right, voting. But I think what we consider feminism today went a little bit to the left. It started to behave as if we don't really need another person. And I think we started to merge the roles a little bit, to blend them, where it became a problem in men, first of all. I think a lot of them were feeling confused about their own role.
Question how to respond to that is like at this point very, very problematic.
Correct.
When you just mentioned the feminism, I think that our problem and roots goes all the way back in Adam and Eve, and Jesus Christ and Maria Magdalena, and because, and I'm gonna if I get in that rabbit hole, I have my dear priest here that probably he will not agree with me, but I still have to say it, because it's the story that story is always brings me back, because since then woman was suppressed. It's saying that you can learn, you can be educated, you can be a leader, you can be successful. You always putting down. Instead, acknowledge her who really she is, right? And woman into this world should be treated on totally different. It's the same. I feel that sometimes, as much that we find the guilt in the man, it's the same in the woman. When you look in the social medias, I just heard, a friend of mine was complaining. He goes, what she said? She told me, like, oh my God, you're such a good guy, but I need somebody who's going to smack me and send me in the Lamborghini. Right? So it's a that kind. So what you do with there's no self-worth, right? There's no boundaries in the woman that she's going to say, okay, you can do this for me because I know who I am. And that's, again, consciousness and raising your consciousness, realize how beautiful, how great you are, not even to doing the plastic surgery or Botox or this and that, but that's really accepting yourself. Now we're getting also in the gender too, if can you, it's not a problem for me to accept you, but can you accept yourself, right? And live in that environment, whatever environment is. And then, I always quote, and I like Tara Swart, probably you heard, and also neuroscience and the psychiater. We don't attract people, we attract reflections of ourselves. Meaning that the connections between two of us actually mirroring us on our way or our consciousness. And that actually, when one person grows, another stay in the position where she is still, that means the distance between two of them become bigger, right? So there is a growth between woman and woman, and when coming back to that psychopath and victim relationship, that we allowed, the guy can be the best guy ever, and the woman, little by little, allowed him to do little things. She's gonna make him, train him to be a narcissist, little by little, and then psychopath, little by little, and God forbid become equivalent elements that it's not gonna breathe and go nowhere.
Just to add to that, when you said training, I recently was thinking about that, how, even as adults, we still have that childish response in relationships especially. We have a saying in Serbia, if you give them a finger, they want the whole hand, right? So as much as you allow for someone, they will continue to take more if you want, right? So self-respect, like you said, knowing your self-worth, being self-aware, giving the same to the other person as well. respecting their space, respecting their needs, who they are as a person, and then growing together. When I work with couples, they often talk about growth, and I love that you said that because I use the same example. Couples can grow in 3 different ways. One is growing, the other one is stagnant. There is a gap. They're both growing, but in different directions. Or they're growing parallel, and that's when the relationship succeeds. That doesn't mean blending, but it means honoring one another and leaving space.
See, now you make me again to thinking. So now we're getting into the, when one person doesn't grow, it feels her in the victim position and victimize itself, meaning like it's okay if the victim says, oh, you don't understand me, you don't see me, you don't want to accept me the way who I am right there. So, but if the victim doesn't realize their own shadows and the fears, and if one person is there to help her, but she doesn't realize, it's better just to move. But if the victim realizes that what is the things that she needs to grow and work on it, then this person can help and the relationship can be very successful because they both agree what is good and what is bad. But if there is not consciously recognition that there is a problem that we need to work on it, then it's better just to move on.
Agreed.
If I may add to that, often we see, because nowadays therapy, everything is more present, and there's different ways of healing, etc., etc. I see women sometimes growing, learning to love themselves more, and sort of not giving enough space or time or patience for the other person to get through that, because often it's like, so in that sense, walking away, sure, but allowing your partner to actually process what happened. It's holding space for them and for you in a way to give this opportunity to grow. Because sometimes it just takes more time.
Well, do you want to answer, or was that a question, or just?
It was not a question, I'm just saying.
No, I agree with that. And actually, but see, it's different to hold the space for somebody and accept from that person to do work for you. So there is the right differences. So the person that feels that needs to work, I can be next to you, right, and help you to grow. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm better than you. That's first of all, right? So your partner, I'm not saying you. So your partner doesn't need to sit, but just to be there and support you the way that you need, or if you want to hear the wisdom or experience that he had, or if you want to look for the help and he can still be there, but to be there and attach that love to him in order that you think that he's going to save you, because you just need your little kid cry for the dad or the security, or your little kid cry for the brother, or something that is going to tie you there. So if the person doesn't feel secure in his own skin, then he's always asking for somebody else to save, if you understand me. So basically, to balance and align yourself in the way that you can live by yourself on this earth without anybody around you. Meaning is that I can be alone, but I'm not lonely. So if I'm lonely, then they have to come by you.
I cannot stop. I love this topic. So I do want to say that when you do that, exactly what you say, don't do that, it is so easy to put your partner in a role of parents. And now you're back to the first point. If we're playing, my mother's trauma, father's trauma, we're not. We're back to square one. So to that extent, it makes sense. And it is the easiest way to, kind of end things. Well, unless you have a therapist like you. So I want to ask you, can anxiety and trauma be treated? In my personal view, I would say yes. In any other way than through medication and such. And what is for you the magic of it?
That's a big yes. You're right. I always talk about medication, especially for anxiety, as a band-aid, right? It is treating a symptom, so it helps you function throughout your day. It's reducing the symptoms that are preventing you from completing your activities, going to work, getting out of bed even. But what needs to happen is the change on a deeper level, right? So that's why cognitive behavioral therapy works, which works with your thoughts and your behaviors, mindfulness, even simple processing from, you mentioned the history of parents, even psychodynamic perspective where we just talk, right? And we work out and understand where certain problems come from. I'm not opposed to medication, I always like to preface that, but when medication is necessary. So I'll give you an example. If I work with clients with anxiety, I will first do everything that I can to deal with it without medication, because I'm getting the real picture of the client. I'm seeing their emotions, I'm seeing what's bothering them, really they're able to express that, and I'm able to see the level of the problem. If that doesn't suffice, if they still need a little bit of support, then I will send them for a consultation with a psychiatrist to give them a little dose of whatever medication to help them function. So yes,
It is sort of similar, and actually for my brain easier to explain for depression. You want to do certain things, you want to move, but you cannot. You just cannot. So you do need something. But if you don't do work behind it, what's the point? You're not going to train yourself to, go out of that. So
Correct.
And it's needed.
yes, absolutely. That's even a better example. You need something to get you out of bed to even make it to therapy in the first place to do that deeper work. So in that case, yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now, I think we need a little bit of a break from the talking points. If you want
Can I
to remarks,
just-
yes, it's a long debate today.
It's just because it comes from a different perspective and maybe different background and maybe different experience. And 100% I agree with you, of course. So just to mention, I have many friends from your background, professional background, and we always talk about that. So my point is yes, I mean, there is a work with a client and there's a trauma that needs to be found. But what is that trauma? Where is that fear coming from? Where is that untrust coming from? Where is that, we always say it's usually coming in a childhood, right? But okay, we realize that, but how we gonna, what we can do to keep that out of our system, right? Besides medication, besides masking, because medication is just simply masking, right? But there is the other way, and that's the work on yourself. And it's great work that you're doing and helping your patients, and I would say realizing or helping them to find themselves, right? What that means, find truly who you are. So now we living in this totally 3D, we would say, right? It's a density. First density is there's everything there is, and everything is energy. Second density is the plants and the animals, and they all have a different kind of the rules and the living. But everything is live, when we say. Now we can get a little bit in the God perceptions, right? And so now in that 3 density, it's all about forgiveness and acceptance. Acceptance, the life that you have, meaning all your burdens. Most of the people, they can't accept their trauma, right? They can't accept that somebody was sexually abused, and they can accept that they were triggered or they were simply, and you have to, believe me, there's people that are going through a lot by the age of 13, or what is out there that we can't even comprehend. It's crazy world. And so now when you realize who you are and then going through that, the acceptance of your cross, like Jesus Christ says, that you're carrying and going through it, and you following and have a faith in that you're saying and you're praying and you're going in the church every morning, and closing your eyes and then you're checking your phone while you're doing the prayers, that's not going to lead you anywhere. The work on yourself is really, really something that each one of us, actually, our soul will tell you when you're ready, and it's going to happen, whether you want that or not. When I say spiritual awakening, it has many paths. One, to religion, another one through the spiritual understanding, and even the religion becomes a little bit far away from source that Jesus Christ was teaching us, and we have to get back to that, otherwise we will be lost. So now, the fourth or fifth, the density is the wisdom and love. So now, to experience that wisdom, when you're working with a patient, experience that wisdom, that you are able to forgive. It's easy to forgive to somebody on the street, but if you really forgive somebody who really did something to you, first forgive yourself, and also Christ says always forgiveness is the major things for your salvation. So you have to forgive yourself and others, accept your own path. Wisdom will come. Your energy and consciousness energy will enlighten you, Christ energy in you, and then you feel that unconditional love that is all what it is on the end. And that is finding yourself. And when you find yourself, then there's no fear, because the fear is it's distancing from the God. It's simply something that is man-made to keep you in totally, suppressed position. And then when you find yourself, then you actually find the truth about yourself and others and the world around you.
I think it's a very big misconception that is going on right now, where people actually go to the therapist. It's like, oh, fix me. They go to Reiki, oh, do some magic. They go to the priest, pray for me, tell me a prayer. But without doing that, without working through it, nobody can help you. But when it comes to such big trauma, people are scared because they have to relive everything to be able to accept what happened. So often, encouragement for closest people and whatnot is very, very important in that part. So also, there is another side. Once you're there and you're going through that, your brain sort of identify you. You identify yourself as that. So if I'm no longer that is the biggest fear. What am I? As you said, finding yourself, I think it tackles humans' biggest fear. Finding yourself, finding the God, finding the connection. So I think this is the sort of root of what stops that.
So let's just clarify the fear. Fear follows a person through the life like an eternal shadow, and separating them from themselves and the source, and culminating in the fear of the judgment day. And that judgment day is the misunderstanding of the many laws that a person has accepted from the various sources, has made them the term judgment day, and represent a punishment that carries fear rather than the healing. So look how back we're going. Judgment day should be seen as a process of the growth and development, the evolution of the person realizing what is valuable and what is not. This process carries the responsibility of the person towards themselves, first of all, and what you just said, working on yourself and realizing who really you are, and the God, judging His creation. So it's unbelievable, and it's very hard to, we often hear that God will cut through the injustice like a sword of lightning, and aligns everything in demonstration of power, and over anyone who opposes the acceptance of the reality of life. So fear of God is impossible. Only in the mind is already significantly separated from what is essentially is. fear of God is nothing but the fear of reality of yourself, if I can say that way. So meaning, if you fear God, that means that you fear yourself. But you find Him, there's no fear.
Great answer. It feels like you packed whatever I said and answered it. Yeah, you are a part of it. You're connected to God as long as you're willing to put your sometimes also pain aside. It's easier to connect and hear yourself in that sense, right? There's something else that helps us. It's not only meditations. It's not like you're gonna go see a show, but let's say music. I think it's a very important part. Frequency, sound.
Well,
I'm inviting you here to do
there you
something
go.
because it's so.
So let
easy
me
to forget.
do some songs for you,
Yeah.
as I promised.
Let us forget a little bit.
Yes.
Let us listen.
I thought to, that's we can break this a little bit. I'm searching, while we're talking, actually what can I do? There's one recital that will actually fall asleep, but I will do then just a song that it came up and a couple weeks ago. Right there. I remember you. Not only not your face, from where we come there is no shame. I remember you in life when we played games. In quiet corners where shadow might dwell, gather in the whisper our hearts wave a spell. In dungeons of worry, in valley of care, we seek our light and find song is there. I remember you. For every lost dreams, for each heart full of pain, wrap them under your wing like some springtime rain. Nurture the very, the lonely, the meek, without pure and the tender. Let love gently speak. I remember you forever. I remember you. I know you were there. Maybe blisters in the moonlight temple, a warrior queen drops in the silk and the fire. Perhaps I was wandering poet, a fallen star or a half-awakened god, enchanted by your light. For almost together in joy and strife, we offer this prayer, a tapestry of life. The time has been vibrant with love we are tread, as there is sharing the journey that every eyes of man. I remember you. I remember you. I remember you. I remember you.
Admit it, now you want that one.
Yeah. We can go.
I'm not gonna let you. I do have a final question for this night. What is the soul? What is God to you? And what is, if there is, an ultimate goal of life?
Wow.
So
Can we do another song instead of a question? Wow. Okay.
take it easy.
No, See, for the soul, we gotta go back in Adam and Eve. Can we do that, priest?
That's very fast.
Let's go. So Adam and Eve, they were not humans. They were consciousness split into masculine and feminine polarities of source. Light beings, fully aware, no fear, no body. They exist in unity of consciousness. So when we die, we all go there. Pure oneness. But oneness has limit and limitation to express itself. So it needs duality, needs this here, needs this vehicle. You can't choose if there is nothing to choose between, right? So soul said, let me express the contrast and let me express duality. Let me forget. That's why we come enter this reality, we forget. So, the serpent that you have and saw in the healthcare industry, and then, see, my brain goes now totally in different direction that I will, but I have to, and let me just do step by step, because this is really deep, and we will go deeper. And it's very important to understand. So, the serpent is not the devil, and it's your DNA, it's your Kundalini, it's your core awakening, buried deep inside of you. And religion, little by little, demonized the snake because needed control, right? We get away through that Jesus teaching, which when now we can get in that Jesus teaching and compare all these two. When the Jewish people run away for 30 years from their own tyranny, they were tired, and on those roads the snake was all over the place and they were always scared and blah 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 blah. Then I asked finally Moses, can you please go and ask God what we can do, what we should do. We can't do anymore. We're hungry, we're tired. So he went on the mountain and talked with the God. He come back with a stick and doing the serpent on the top of it. God tell him, take this snake and the serpent and bring it in front of the Jewish people and let them see it. So when they saw that, they asked and they were but what really snake represent in that time is the tyranny that they were, through the figures, through the generations, running away from them, instead facing the tyranny. So the science of the biblical explanations are varies through the between psychological understanding, health industry understanding, and mystical understanding. So now, when Jesus Christ, the night before crucifixion, he comes in front of his students and said, tomorrow they will put me on the cross, and I want you to see me as a snake that Moses put in front of Jewish people. What that means for him and what that means for us. It's the same Sophia light, because when he resurrected and said Maria Magdalene after that when he's the one with the Sophia and said, Magdalene, don't be afraid, now I'm one with Sophia, I'm one with Mother and the Father in the heaven, telling us that soul raise and become one with the God. So now we're getting back again, because once you activated in inner knowing, you don't need a gatekeeper between you and God. Everything is happening now. This is another program of manifestations, and instead before you have the people, with with the crosses, and instead that you buying the candles, and there's always something in the middle. You don't need that middle because God is already in you. So the Eve ate the fruit. She didn't doom the world. She awakened it. She saw herself. She became aware. So ego entered, and separation begin. Ego entered in this because when we are born, we forgot everything, and through our programs, we learn, right? We learn. Doesn't matter if I'm in India, or if I'm in Afghanistan, or I'm in Puerto Rico born. We all getting in the program from our fathers, from mothers, from our society, from our religions. So that's what ego accepting, because we learn through our senses, and we learn through life through our senses. Now, our Sophia sits in us to be discovered and waits to find the way home. Home, there's different ways and different teachings, but the way home is always the same, and that's to God. That's in your inner knowing. So it wasn't a punishment. Spirit entered the form of consciousness, this become a flesh, and earth become the classroom for remembering, if I can say that way. And in that way, we grow, we search, we transform, and that's the whole point. We coming back home to the source that we came from. And when you know that and the truth about yourself, you can't be separate from each other. Because if I see God in you, it would be great if you see God in me. But if we said, so 2021, I had an accident on the boat, and so it comes totally, but it has to be said. I know that you need to hear this. And on the 5th day, when they cleaned me from the skin, they thought that tomorrow I'm not going to be awake. I'm not going to be alive. I took off. I was not dead. The heart was still beating down there. But I took off. And in that moment, I become a light. I see myself as a light. I didn't even see myself, I just become light. And I see light around me. So now, that light, and in that interaction, there's no anymore asking. And it took me 20 years to realize what really happens. It happens that I return to my basic stage of existing that we all are. So if I will measure, or if you will measure, how much light is in you, because here, in this physical realm, we measure our ego through our titles, what we have, what we did, how much money, your social security number, how much money you have on a banking account and all that. But if we will measure how much light is shining inside of you, this world will be much better. So the soul, finding yourself and the truth about yourself, that's the real answer what really soul is.
Thank you. I think we're going to switch. First of all, I'd like to thank our loving guests for joining us tonight. I appreciate you, and the host for everything. I will let you speak. I just wanted to ask the audience if you have any questions, or maybe if you want to take your remarks, you're more than welcome to do so. If not, please.
So I'm not a therapist, but I'm a patient. But when we were talking about drugs and cognitive therapies, I thought that's great. But the way I look at that is the way I look at people that want to lose weight these days. Some of them will go on Ozempic. Why? Because they don't want to do the work, they don't want to work out, or maybe they can't, they just find it extremely difficult. So I think a lot of people go on internets. I've been on some of them, because
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you're right. You're right. A lot of people do resort to medication. Unfortunately, I've had a lot of clients come to me for the first time and ask for medication right away. Because you're right, it is too much work. So I appreciate you saying that, especially as someone who's gone through it. Thank you.
Is not that another question that
No,
I
I'm
didn't
done with
answer?
the questions. I wanted to
Okay.
see if
You asked me about God, right?
Oh,
Soul and the God. So what is the God? So very simple question where we're like, God is all what it is, right? It's all this. We interact with each other through the invisible net of the network that is right here in here. So, but we can go a little bit deeper. I said light, right? So God can be a light, but awareness of light, right? God, it's not love, but the space where love arises. Can you imagine? So you have love, and I'm sure, and I felt loved from him many times, and I still do. There's no explanation for love. I really wish everybody not coming from again from a perspective of ego, but it's just experience and wisdom. So when you are bombarded with that kind of amount of the love, and that's not the love, but the space where love arises, so you can imagine what is that. The same is that not either creation, because that infinite stillness before Big Bang happens, because something needs to happen before that. That's also God. So when you get in that kind of environment and you get in that kind of the understanding of the life, then when you see the tree, it's also God because it's in a different density. We are in this kind of density that I just explained a couple minutes ago, on understanding our flesh, our soul, that going through our body, that we are going through life. But other density is the tree, the animal. That is also God. So when you realize that the God, we are not experiencing God, but the God experiencing himself through us is the deepest things that you can realize. So in all of that, you can say nothing but that God is all of it is. God is also that when you said, I am Niksa Dobre, right? So you're asking yourself, who am I? So if I come from the God, how can I be separate from Him? So I think that nobody, I know the Christianity and those people, they said crazy when you said like, I'm a God. They said like, you know, you're insane. But I don't think that anybody can be insane to say that he is God. But finding God and truth, that you are coming from the source, deniable, there's not even a question about it. So in the 13th century or so, Margaret Mead, French writer, wrote and said, love is a God, God is a love, I am a love, and I am God. She was burned on the stake at that time. Church took all her text and signed her name on it in that moment. And they used to use her literature for so many years till somebody didn't figure out that that's her. And after some time, they gave her a title and recognized her as somebody that, you know, is as a saint. But what I try to say even in that time, thanks God that we don't living in this time that people say when they find a God, they say, I find a God in myself. Or somebody said, I find a God in myself. It's meaning that you find the truth about yourself and the God that lives through you.
I do want to say, speaking of the writer, you can always be responsible for what you see, but you cannot be responsible about how somebody is going to perceive it. It took some time.
Of course. It definitely, well, journey of each of everybody here is different. And nobody, if I would again say there is in spirituality and all, again in life, I'm not better than beggar on the street. I'm not better than anybody here tonight. The humbleness for the life and everything that gives you and that appreciation for life, it's everything comes from what is given to you. And the whole point, so when you realize all this, so there's nothing to do but to absolutely surrender the truth, that there's nothing to hold, no one to be, nowhere to go. Drop the questions, seeking, just breathe and exist. And everything else He will do it for you. Are we done with the questions?
You're done with the questions.
Thank you. Let me appreciate it. Thank you for your,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I want to thanks to, first of all, Susanna, that she was here with us. And I appreciate your time. I appreciate you, friend of mine, Dule, professor, doctor it's a title, but for me, I see somebody else. That's it. This is the sample of all what we talk about. If I will introduce him as a doctor, professor, Dusan Ilic, it will be meaning something else that is not connected to me. But I see him, who really truly he is. He's here tonight. He came from the Belgrade, from the Serbia, for this moment. And it means a lot because not only for his achievement, but as a friendship, and we went through a lot together, and thank you for that. And I thank you for all of you. It's hard on Thursday night to come and hear somebody talking about God and what else to do on Thursday night. But I will do one more song for you, and we will finish with that. I will have signing some books if you guys vote and bring any books that I can sign. That would be great. I have a couple others, and I will give it to you, of course. So the book, the song is called. I forgot. Where is it? It's called "You My Heart and You My Soul." So this is the song that I did a long time ago, also, and it tells and talks that when you love, the grass is not greener on the other side. So instead of talking, let me just sing, and hopefully you're gonna like it.
Sometimes I feel it. Your hands like a sheet of snow. Sometimes another woman calls my name like that I belong. Sometimes I write your name on the top of the sky. What is the sky to hold it? You by my side, when my dreams give me rest, and and my soul prepared for peace. You still smell the best in front of me, inside of me. Then you wake me up with a breakfast and burning kiss. My heart is melting up in front of you, in front of me. You my heart and you my soul. You my life where I belong. Hold my hands, don't let it go. Keep it right in my home, baby. Love is rolling to my side. Guys in the river, not a young. I need you, like you are mine. Let me make you as baby now. Like a song in springtime. You my heart and you my soul. You my life, but I belong. Hold my hands, don't let it go. Keep the light in my home, baby. Let it roll to my side. Rise in the rhythm, without a yard. I need you like you are mine. Let me make you yours, baby, now. Like a song in springtime. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Are you is her
Because every
I'm